And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Malaysia's government gave final approval for a Texas-based company to resume the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 more than a decade after the airplane's disappearance. Terms and conditions of a no-find, no-fee contract have been agreed upon with Ocean Infinity to launch a seabed search operation at a new 5,800 square mile site. The company will be paid $70 million only if wreckage is discovered. The 2014 disappearance remains one of the biggest mysteries in aviation. That plane took off from Kuala Lumpur, headed to Beijing on March 8th, 2014, and disappeared around 90 seconds after leaving Malaysian airspace, with all 239 of its passengers seemingly gone without a trace. Satellite data showed the plane turned from its flight path and headed south to the far southern Indian Ocean, where it is believed to have crashed. Could this investigation, though, help make the future of air travel safer amid a time when we have seen so many aviation incidents? For that, I want to bring in Timothy Loranger. He's an aviation attorney and a private pilot. He joins us live on Live Now from Fox. Thank you so much, first of all, for taking the time this morning.
Thanks so much for having me and putting a spotlight on this important issue.
Of course. Well, let's start from the beginning here for our audience. Can you break down for us exactly what happened with this flight, and why has this been so difficult to figure out where this flight went?
Yes, more than 11 years ago, MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing. An hour into the flight, the aircraft was lost on air traffic control radar tracking and eventually crashed into what is believed to be the southern Indian Ocean. It's been very difficult to figure out the exact direction that the aircraft flew, but over the years, data analysis using military radar and satellite data give a pretty good indication of where the aircraft was traveling before it crashed, and then has given researchers an idea of somewhere in the thousands of square miles of the southern Indian Ocean is where it crashed.
Why is this being reopened now?
Well, for the families, there's never been closure. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone to lose a family member in this way, where suddenly they disappear and then you never have any confirmation of what happened to them. So certainly the families have been begging for some kind of an answer so that they can understand exactly what happened to their loved ones. So that pressure, plus certainly an incredible interest from the aviation industry to understand what happened here so that we can avoid a repeat of that in the future.
Voice 370, it's a group of relatives of passengers from that flight, said, as long as we remain in the dark about what happened to this flight, we will never be able to prevent a similar tragedy. How can learning about what happened to this flight change protocols for the future of air safety? As you know, right now, a lot of people are nervous about flying.
Sure, there's been a lot in the news today, and so there is a big interest in making sure that this doesn't happen again. So if they can locate this aircraft and they can examine it and try and understand what caused the aircraft to go off of its path of travel, what caused it ultimately to crash, what the pilots were dealing with at the time, all of those things will help improve aviation safety. What will also, the data that we have, data analysis, all of that has been improved over the years because of this flight. These technologies have developed better and better processes because this question exists. Also, what they'll look at is what went wrong with the communication systems, what went wrong in the emergency response process. All of those things are important to responding to something like this, to an aircraft in distress, to an aircraft that's lost. All of those things will improve the technology and the process of researching a crash like this.
I do want to leave our audience with some words of positivity here, because, as we've been saying, this flight anxiety, according to a study, more than 25 million Americans experience fear of flying. That's only gone up since we've seen these incidents happening in the media. But as someone like yourself who has plenty of experience with aircraft, is flying still safe? And do you have any words of encouragement for anyone who is flying or may be.
Absolutely. And it's very understandable why people would be nervous, especially with all of these incidents in the news today. As a pilot, as somebody whose job is to investigate why airplanes crash, I can tell you that modern aviation is the safest it's ever been. The technology that has developed over the years, specifically from incidents that have happened in the past, safety improvements that have occurred, all of that make air travel one of the safest form of travel that you can choose. All of that sort of is cold comfort. I can tell you that I personally have no fear of getting on an aircraft, knowing what I know about the safety of aircraft. So I have no problem getting myself getting on an aircraft, encouraging my family to get on an airplane. And I think everyone should rest well knowing that they will be fine getting in a commercial aircraft, for example.
All right, Timothy Loranger, thank you so much for the words of encouragement, for breaking this down for us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Of course.